Obesity is linked to more than 60 chronic diseases, and it is common knowledge that there is an epidemic of obesity around the world. Today, 2/3 of adults and nearly 1/3 of children in America struggle with it. It seems like in the last 30 years, human waistlines have simply grown out of proportion, and if obesity rates stay consistent, by 2030, 51% of the American population could potentially be obese.
As far as dieting or losing weight, people take two approaches that don't work for the long term. And so, of course, they say diets don't work. One approach is they try and starve themselves and be hungry all the time. These are portion-controlled diets, typical diets that people have followed. They don't work because you're hungry all the time and you can't tolerate that kind of pain. The alternative is the make-yourself-sick diets. And those are the high-protein, high-fat, low-carbohydrate diets.
Over the last few decades, there has been an explosion of commercial diets in the US, most of them revolving around the idea that eating few carbs and lots of animal protein helps with weight loss, all orchestrated by multi-million-dollar ingenious advertising campaigns and celebrity endorsements. As a result, nowadays most people associate carbs with weight gain. For many years, I worked really hard to cut my carbs, without any long-term results and without fully understanding why I was doing it. I wanted to find out what the latest science had to say about these low-carb diets.
Robert Atkins, some years ago, in 1973, published his first book, in which he argued that it's not the problem with the fat, it's not the problem with the protein, but mostly fat. He said, that's not the problem. The problem is we consume too much carbohydrate. And he made that point. We should be consuming a low-carb diet, he said. And then many other people wrote the same thing. The South Beach diet is only a copycat, for the most part, of the Atkins diet. The Zone diet is basically a copycat, different name. The blood type diet, in many regards, is also a copycat. Good calories, bad calories. Gary Taub, same thing. Even Michael Pollan, I have to say, omnivore's dilemma. And the paleo diet in this day and time is a copycat. They may give it different names. They may try to throw out, different kinds of arguments for why that's right. They're all wrong.
Everybody wants to hear good news about their bad habits. So when you tell people you can eat all the lobster you want, you can have steak and eggs, and some include dairy, some don't include dairy, but that sounds good to people because it sounds less restrictive.
This is written by people, I should tell you, who don't have experience in this field of nutrition research, period. Most of them have never even published a single paper in the scientific literature.
Some of the people who are talking about low-carb diets are a little better than news reporters, and that's not to take anything away from their skill at investigating things, but they don't have the skills to evaluate scientific information.
Low-carb diets, they make you sick, and as a result, your whole body gets sick with artery disease and kidney damage, liver damage, and so on. They increase mortality. That's been shown over and over again in major studies. But they also make you sick in a way that you lose your appetite. The dieter goes, oh, I finally found it. And then you go into ketosis, you lost your appetite. As a result, you're able to sustain yourself without thinking about food all the time because you're sick. These diets are dangerous, and people should not be on them.
Well, the biggest lies in the world are the ones that have a little truth. We all know that. It's a great tactic. It's true. I happen to agree that we should cut down on simple carbohydrates. You see, that's out of context of the whole. Sugar, white flour. That makes sense. So in that sense, there's a little truth. But they don't always point that out. They just say low carb, low carb, low carb.
Listen, forget about what you like and dislike. Think about what your objective is. All right, let's just acknowledge we all like eating junk food. If you put chocolate in front of me today, I'll have some, right? But that doesn't lead to health.